off of downed aircraft, whatever, and go chase tanks around the desert. They like these Browning 50 caliber air cooled. They take them off aircraft because that was big enough. With the World War II tanks, especially if you got behind them, you could take them out.
Yeah.
They were always weak from the back. That's where the engine was. It was big enough to blow up track, or if you got in behind them, you could take out an engine.
Wow.
Quite the collection of M1s out there.
Well, those are for the American Legion. We do the we got the little post thing there, and that's our honor guard for them.
Yeah, you should make this as museum, and then have like maybe $5, $10 entrance fee.
It's kind of the Gillete collection. We're still working on the status on a 501c3 nonprofit or something like that. But I had a shop for years, so I absorbed a lot of this through that.
That way, whatever money you spent in buying all this, you can collect back.
Well, what we do now is there's that row of ammo cans as you walk in, and they're for all the different veteran supports. Wounded warriors, Folds of Honor, and if people want to donate, I just have them put in there.
Okay.
Because that does a lot. I don't need any really extra money. I'm retired. I got a pension. But it's a nice thought, but I'd rather they just donate to them. And we get quite a few really good donations for that. So it's kind of a neat deal.
Mm-hmm. So...
what people don't realize in all these different wars, Voight Manufacturing was originally a harness company. But when the wars come on, they started making all the scabbards and saddlebags and holsters. Anything that the military needed, the saddles. So in the wartime, all the businesses are converted to supporting the war effort if it's a major war.
I see.
This is a lot of people see the Harley motorcycles.
Yeah,
and it's not
Harley
one of
Davidson
those.
is famous.
This is a simplex servicycle. It's got a lighter motor on it, belt drive. It's kind of a glorified bicycle, but it was light enough that they could use them with the airborne troops. They could put a single man parachute on it and kick it out of plane.
Wow.
So even if it's not a Harley, if you was walking, it was looking pretty good.
Okay. How about this man here?
Well, that's a mannequin dressed up loosely, as best we can tell, like my grandpa's unit in World War II with the 17th Airborne. But they lost 95% of that division. They went into the Battle of the Bulge and all the way up through Market Garden. They really did an awesome job, but at the end of the war, there was, out of like 12,000, most of those guys were gone. My grandpa survived, come back, and it was just kind of a sad story. But they took shrapnel out of his knee when he got a knee replacement at 70. That was from World War II. He'd been carrying around his whole life. So they were just a pretty tough group of guys.
Okay. What are these here? Oh, like a
just
ducks.
Miscellaneous sporting good stuff. And
it's hard for me to see because I don't have my glasses. I'm an old lady. So what else? The same thing with that mannequin.
This one is kind of loosely dressed up like the British Special Forces, the LRDG, Long Range Desert Group. That's who formed up this Rat Patrol unit. They made a series out of them in the 60s. And, they kind of got to be a little bit famous from that, but they were an actual unit, and they really did quite a bit of Special Forces operations in North Africa.
I see.
And this is a 1943 Ford manufactured Jeep
this one,
from World War II. This is set up pretty much like a Browning water-cooled 30 caliber machine gun.
Okay, over there too.
And this is your Browning M3 50 caliber air-cooled machine gun, would have usually been used in aircraft.
I'm sure a lot of veterans and retired army military, they're gonna love this video. Because you explain pretty well, so I don't need to explain because I have an accent. I'm from the Philippines. Yeah. So
there was a lot of history over there too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in Olongapo. Have you been to Philippines?
No, I've had
There's
one of our pastor was from there, and she was really informative, real nice woman to work with.
Yeah, you should visit.
Stories.
You should visit and check that place. It's called Olong. Is that where the Olongapo, right? You were
Olongapo was the city of Subic Bay.
Subic Bay.
It was a naval base, and we had an air station that I used to fly into.
But it's not there anymore, right? There's no more?
Because the U.S. military is not allowed. Well, not that they're not allowed in the Philippines, but
they kind of have their own army.
Broken away. Yeah,
well, they're more independent with their own.
Yeah.
Over here too. Wow, you have so many guns.
Well, they're all different. They all have a different story to tell. I mean,
We have a lot of guns at home too.
Cartridge guns that they would have used in about 1875. You know, through the early wars on the plains and things like that. This is comparable to what Custer's troops had, which didn't work out so well for them. With the early ammunition, the copper cases had a tendency to jam. You know, they'd get hot, they'd swell in the cases, and so in a really serious battle, you're trying to dig cases out. A bow and arrow was better than that. Yeah. But ironically, they had a lot of repeaters on the Native Americans that they bought surplus after the Civil War. They had Spencer carbines.
Guys, I'm going to give you a 360 views. Is more here on my right side too.
These are mostly cartridge guns from the trapdoors, the Craigs, and this is a really unusual rifle. Wow. It's a Ross straight pull.
Look, I'm gonna show
which is British or Canadian. This one came out of Canada, but they were so short for weapons to train with. In World War I, we bought 10,000 rifles from them for the U.S., and this one has the U.S. proof marks on it. Okay. Where it would have been one of those rifles. In 50 years of weapons, I've had 2 of them in my hands, and this is one of them. They're very rare. Well, they had a problem. If you didn't reassemble the bolt properly, it would blow up. I mean, it's a really nice action, but, you know.
So what locks it in?
It's got a rotary locking bolt.
Okay.
But if
you just pull back?
Yep. It was a really neat system, very well made, but they're delicate. Yeah. The woodwork and the mechanics underneath, a lot of them were broken. The only other one I'd seen was busted in pieces, and I put it back together. But, you know, then there's the World War I stuff and World War II.
Springfields.
You have a lot of your World War I Springfields were refurbished and used again in World War II, and you can commonly tell they have the lighter sheet metal stuff instead of the nice machine steel parts. They were made cheaper. It still did the same job, but they wanted quantity.
Yeah. Well, the Marines at Guadalcanal were using those.
Yep. Well, you had, going from a 250,000 man army to several million, you used everything. And that's what people can't comprehend. Is going to that quantity, because none of that stuff existed 2 years prior. We didn't have warehouses full of this stuff. You know, we had to make it, and that was the women making it because the guys were all over there. Oh, yeah. If you're able-bodied, you were there. So all the planes, the ships, the tanks, the trucks, the boots, guns.
Yeah. Well, my M1 carbine's made by Underwriter, which was a typewriter.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you know, this was your more famous rifle, really, and still even today's standard is a good battle rifle. That's the M1 Garand. That was our first real main semi-automatic rifle. Takes an 8-shot clip, and it changed the game.
Yeah, absolutely did. Yeah, I've got one only. It's in the 308. It's a refurbished one. It's been through. Yep. It was actually made in 43, but
there's your British Enfield type rifles from World War I and World War II, and again they used whatever they had.
The Arisaka, the Japanese.
Nope, those are down here. This is one that's kind of an unusual gun. A lot of people some people are familiar with the Craig rifles. Yeah. Well, we had ours, and this one was a Steyr German manufactured one from World War II timeline. They were extremely accurate, very reliable, and they were still using them as a sniper rifle into World War II in a 6.5 by 55. Okay. Yeah. The Arisakas mostly were copies of the Mausers. This is one of those smaller, more paratroop model type or jungle carbines with a folding bayonet. But they've got a dust cover on them, but the action itself, other than the safety, is almost identical to a Mauser.
And what caliber is that one?
6.5 by 55.
So that's one of the good ones. Yeah, when they started making them in the 7mm, then they got cheap on their parts.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you get the early war stuff, they were fine. Right. But like the Germans, as the war went on, their factories were blown up. They kept cutting back and getting cheaper and cheaper.
Same gun is still used in the
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but why did it take us till really 1850 to really effectively employ them? Yeah. You can see in this picture from the Spanish-American War, they actually used Gatling guns against Maxim machine guns, and they beat them out because Teddy Roosevelt figured out the interlocking fields of fire. So by doing that, it was more effective than just random fire with the
That's how he took Kettle Hills with the Gatling guns.
Yep.
Okay. There's more. Wow, it's a huge place. There's another one there.
This is your mountain howitzers. which had a really thin tube but a really heavy breech, and it allowed them to be able to break them down and pack them out, and mules and other 2 horses could pack out this cannon. You know, these would weigh your full gun. Oh, I think you're looking at about 400 pounds, whereas your normal 12-pound Napoleon cannon was 1,500 pounds.
Oh, much heavier.
So, you know, if you're trying to get over rough terrain or move quickly, you can't do that. I think these only had a range of about 800 or 900 yards, but that's still pretty effective. And they were, I have this piece out here because in the West, this is the gun that you would have more commonly seen.
Battle of Apache Pass, they had 2 of those. And as they were trying to get up to Apache Springs, the Apaches were all around the hills on them, and they used those. And the Indians had never seen anything like that, and they called it the gun that fired twice because they were firing spherical case shot. So when the gun went off, and then they had exploded the shell over them.
Yep. Well, they had that, and they used a lot of canister shot.
Yeah.
You know, in a canister shot, you're looking at like a 4-inch sawed-off shotgun. Effectively, it's just devastating. You know, they're filled with 1-inch balls. I don't know. There's probably about 150, 200 those round balls.
Yeah, depending on, they would make them in different sizes, but yeah,
very effective. And then these were commonly used on your ships. This would be more like a 6-pound kind of gun, but they also used them a lot in the forts. They'd put them up on the parapets around the forts. And again, it's something they could kind of break down and move around a little bit easier.
Look at that guy there. It's interesting.
Well, this is just kind of a commercial copy of what they call a ghillie suit.
I see.
They wave all this stuff together, and they usually use things from the area they're going to be in, so they can kind of sneak through the grass.
Camouflage.
You
So
bet.
you can crawl through the brush and you won't even
It
see
doesn't
him.
work really good out here in cactus, though.
No.
Not so much.
Yeah, so that the enemy can't find him, that he's there. Because it looks like just grass
Well, you
or
have to
trees.
move really slow. I mean, some of these really advanced snipers, you know, Carlos Hathcock and those type, they might spend 2 days crawling in on a position to take a shot of a top general or a key opposing officer.
Well, there's more.
Good friend of mine was a Army sniper. His mom went to his graduation, and they had her standing out in this field, and she never knew it, but her son actually crawled up, and it was about 3 feet in front of her, popped up.
That caused a heart attack.
Yeah.
This is something a lot of people find interesting. In the military, I worked with Ordnance, and with the 50 caliber machine guns, they're designed with an interchangeable barrel system, but you have to set the headspace on it. And we had manuals around forever, but troops don't do real well with manuals. They just resist it. So do I. So this is the bolt group and barrel assembly out of a 50 caliber machine gun. And with that, I could show them how to set the headspace and timing, show them what everything does. And even with the cheat cards, I could get them to understand it better in about 30 seconds with this.
Just showing them.
Than weeks in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So we just took an old beat up action and built that display, and it worked out really well. Back here is your different pack systems that have been used with the military. There's like your World War I set, World War II, Korean, Vietnam, and your modern stuff. And they've even got another one out since then.
Mm-hmm.
But what I could never figure out is we were walking everywhere early on, 100 years ago, and they just had little bags and haversacks. So with vehicles, why did we have to get bigger and bigger
packs? Yeah.
We have a vehicle now. What do we have to carry all this
You see some
stuff?
of those guys over in Iraq and Afghanistan, they got 80, 90 pound packs on them.
This
That's very heavy
set
for them to
here,
carry.
Loaded up would be about 140 pounds.
Yeah.
With that whole pack system. And the guys, some of them didn't weigh hardly that much.
Yeah. Like you said, in the Civil War, they had a blanket roll.
Yeah.
They had packs, but most of the guys didn't like carrying them. So they had a blanket roll,
Sure.
a haversack with your food.
Yep.
You had a cartridge belt with about 40 rounds of ammunition in it, and a canteen. And you marched 15, 20 miles a day.
Yeah. So this is a pretty interesting piece here.
What's that?
You've got enough light for that.
Yeah,
This
I
is
can lighten up here.
A Revolutionary War uniform. When like all the other conflicts early on, we didn't have standing armies, so we used everything we could get our hands on. This one had been captured by the colonials and reissued. When the British had them, they had crown buttons. When the colonials got a hold of them, they took those off and put plain brass buttons on. This one has the plain brass buttons, so it was on both sides of that conflict. And I use this crossing the Delaware painting as kind of a illustration on that. If you look in that famous painting, you'll struggle to find more than 3 or 4 people in that whole invasion force that have a uniform. They were wearing wools, linens, animal skins, whatever they could get.
The hunting frocks.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If somebody just came in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a World War II Thompson that was decommissioned, but that's a famous gun that everybody liked to have, and it was a really good machine gun, but it was heavy and expensive. Mm-hmm. We used what they called the grease gun quite a bit, which looked like a little grease gun. This in World War II cost $250 to make.
Wow.
The grease gun was about $4.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was all stamped material.
Yeah. It was very simple and crude, but it was very effective, worked fine. As much as I like the Thompson for the quality of machine work, I wish we'd have had 10 times as many of those grease guns because they would have been more effective. And all that close quarter, forests, jungles, building clearing, they're kind of it.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh yeah, we're supposed to wear a mask.
Yeah. Well, we're talking. We're
I
speaking.
know, it's hard. Yeah, we just received an
Here's the
emergency
kind of
alert on our phone and say mask mandatory. So
Interesting piece. It's one of the World War II flight suits out of the aircraft. Well, you notice it has a plug to it.
Mm-hmm. The heat.
Well, there was no cabin pressure in that, so you're either freezing or burning up. So mostly freezing. They get that real high altitude on those bombers and stuff, but it was just horrid. I can't imagine.
okay. Well, really appreciate of your explanation and everything, the history.
So you ready for a quiz now?
I know, but what was that? I'm gonna be 0 in the quiz. Anyway, yeah, I will give you my YouTube name, and then you can see your video on YouTube.
All right.
Yeah, if you like. Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. Thank you so much. Oh, what's the name of this place? We were just driving from Salida, and I don't know.
Well, it used
What's
to
the
be
town?
Gillette's trading post. The town is Saguache, Colorado.
Saguache?
Saguache. That's Ute for land of blue water.
Okay.
Before agriculture, all this was pretty much swampland, and there's all kinds of irrigation and springs, and it was water coming out of the ground everywhere, waterfowl everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, as we start putting in irrigation, you start drawing that top water away. There's still quite a bit of water here.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
You bet.
thank you. And oops, it's not flat here.
not sure how that. Just
Oh, can you just hold me? I'll just want to say bye.
Okay.
Hi guys, good morning again. This is Leslie Susobrado on my YouTube channel. Don't forget
Got it all
to
figured out?
subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. But this is very interesting place that we stopped by because we just drove from Salida, and then this is, got interested, so we stopped and we met the owner. He's very friendly, and I get some knowledge. Later on, he's gonna I'm gonna have a quiz according to him. So now, oh no, what should I answer? I really don't know. So but anyway guys, thanks for watching, and again, I really appreciate the owner of entertaining us, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.